You know that thing where you sleep for a full 8 hours, wake up and feel somehow worse than before you went to bed? Yeah, that's not bad luck. That's not just a Monday thing. That's your brain sending you a strongly worded memo, and it's been sending it for a while. The problem is, most of the sleep advice floating around out there is either painfully obvious, completely contradictory, or buried in a research paper that requires a PhD to understand it. So tonight, you're still doing the same things you've always done, still feeling the same way you've always felt, and wondering if this is just how tired is now. It doesn't have to be. Today, we're going over 5 sleep mistakes that most people are making without even knowing it, what each one is actually doing to your brain, and what a micro-sized fix looks like for each one. No overhaul required. Here's the thing about sleep that nobody really explains properly. It's not a passive activity. You're not just lying there, switched off like a computer in sleep mode. Your brain during sleep is running a full maintenance cycle. Toxins get cleared, memories get filed away, emotions get processed. The whole system gets calibrated for the next day. When that process gets disrupted, even partially, the effects show up everywhere. Your mood, your focus, your ability to make decisions, your patience with the person who takes forever to order coffee, all of it. And the really sneaky part? Most of the mistakes we're going to talk about don't feel like mistakes. They feel completely normal, logical, even a glass of wine to wind down, a little phone time before bed, sleeping in on weekends to catch up. All of it made total sense at the time. All of it was quietly running up a tab with your brain. Let's get into it. Mistake number 1, the evening drink to wind down. This one is deeply embedded in cultural mythology. The nightcap, the glass of wine to take the edge off, the idea that a little alcohol before bed helps you relax and drift off faster, and in fairness, it does help you fall asleep faster. That part is actually true. Here's the catch. Alcohol doesn't give you sleep. It gives you a sedative state that looks a lot like sleep from the outside but does not function like sleep on the inside. What it actually does is suppress your REM sleep, which is the stage where your brain processes emotional experiences, consolidates memories, and does a huge amount of its repair work. So you fall asleep faster, but the sleep you get is shallower, more fragmented, and far less restorative. You might sleep for 8 hours and still wake up exhausted because you spent most of the night in the lighter stages, cycling in and out of proper rest without ever quite getting there. Researchers at the Sleep Foundation put it plainly: alcohol reduces the quality of sleep even when the quantity looks fine. And the effects aren't subtle. Regular evening drinking can meaningfully impact your cognitive function, your mood, and your emotional regulation over time. The micro fix here isn't dramatic. It's just about timing. If you're going to drink, finishing at least 3 hours before bed gives your body time to metabolize it before the sleep cycle begins. That's it. Not a ban, just a window. Mistake number 2, the weekend lie-in, or as scientists call it, social jet lag. Here's the scenario. Monday through Friday, alarm at 7, painfully awake, coffee immediately. Then Friday night arrives, and you stay up later. Saturday morning you sleep in until 10, maybe 10:30. It feels restorative. It feels earned. It's your reward for surviving the week, and your circadian rhythm is absolutely furious about it. Your circadian rhythm is your internal biological clock. It governs when your brain expects to sleep, when it expects to wake, when it releases hormones, when it ramps up alertness. It is exquisitely sensitive to consistency, and when you shift your sleep and wake times by 2, 3, or more hours over a weekend, you are, biologically speaking, flying to a different time zone and back again without actually leaving your bed. Researchers at Harvard and elsewhere have studied this pattern extensively. The result is a phenomenon called social jet lag, and it's surprisingly common. Irregular sleep timing, even when total sleep hours are fine, is associated with poorer cognitive performance, lower mood, and increased metabolic disruption. Monday morning doesn't feel terrible purely because Monday is terrible. Monday feels terrible because your circadian clock is confused and trying to recalibrate after a weekend of time zone hopping. The micro fix: try to keep your wake time within about an hour of your weekday time, even on weekends. Just the wake time. You don't have to go to bed at the same time, just anchor the morning, and your body does the rest. If this is landing for you so far, a subscribe helps the Micro Wins Club keep growing, and it means more of this ends up in your feed and less of whatever the algorithm thinks you need at 11 p.m. A thumbs up also helps more people find this, which is genuinely appreciated. And I'm curious, which of these 5 mistakes do you already know you're making? Drop it in the comments. No judgment. We're all in this together. Mistake number 3. Staring at your phone until the moment you close your eyes. Now, you've probably heard about blue light, how the screens on your phone, laptop, and TV emit it, how it suppresses melatonin, the hormone that signals to your brain that it's time to sleep, and how you should put everything down an hour before bed and stare peacefully at a candle instead. Here's the slightly more complicated truth. The blue light thing is real, but it's probably not the whole story. The research on blue light specifically is more mixed than most people realize, and some studies suggest the content you're consuming matters just as much as the light itself. What we can say with confidence is this: scrolling through emotionally activating content, watching tense TV, reading stressful news, or answering work emails while lying in bed keeps your brain in an alert, activated state. And that state is the opposite of what your nervous system needs in order to wind down into sleep. Your brain doesn't have an off switch, it has a dimmer. And screens, especially at night, keep the dial turned up. There's also something called sleep pressure, which is the accumulation of tiredness that builds through the day and eventually tips you into sleep. Passive screen time, particularly when it's engaging or stimulating, can interfere with that process, keeping you artificially alert past the point where your body was ready to rest. The micro fix: you don't have to go completely dark an hour before bed, but consider what you're watching or reading. Calmer content, a show you've seen before, a podcast that doesn't spike your cortisol, a book that isn't a thriller. Wind the dial down gradually. Give your brain a fighting chance. Mistake number 4. Chronically cutting your sleep short. This one is less about behavior and more about biology. Specifically, one of the most fascinating things neuroscience has discovered about sleep in the last decade. Your brain has its own waste clearance system. It's called the glymphatic system, named for the glial cells that operate it, and it functions a bit like a dishwasher for your brain. While you sleep, particularly during deep, slow-wave sleep, cerebrospinal fluid flushes through the brain tissue, clearing out metabolic waste products that accumulated during the day, including a protein called amyloid beta, the same protein associated with Alzheimer's disease. Sleep scientist Dr. Matthew Walker at UC Berkeley and researcher Dr. Jeff Iliff, who is credited with discovering the glymphatic system's role in sleep, have both highlighted just how significant this process is during sleep. The spaces between brain cells expand by roughly 60%, allowing this cleaning process to happen efficiently. It basically doesn't happen when you're awake. When you consistently cut your sleep short, when you function on 6 hours and call it fine, you're shortchanging your brain's only opportunity to run this cycle properly. Night after night of insufficient deep sleep means waste accumulates faster than it clears. And the long-term picture on that is not a cheerful one. The microfix isn't complicated, but it does require honesty. Most adults need between 7 and 9 hours. Not 7 as a bare minimum, 7 as the floor. If you're consistently getting less, something has to shift even by 30 minutes. Start there. Mistake number 5, using your bed for everything except sleep. Working in bed, eating in bed, scrolling in bed, watching 4 more episodes in bed, worrying about everything you should have done this week also in bed. This one comes down to something psychologists call stimulus control, which sounds very technical but is actually extremely simple. Your brain learns associations, it connects environments and behaviors automatically without you deciding to let it do that. And if you spend enough time doing alert, active things in your bed, your brain starts to register bed as a place for alert, active states, which means when you actually want to sleep, you lie down, and your brain goes, "Oh, this is where we do things," and it starts spinning. Sleep specialists call the opposite of this sleep hygiene around bed restriction, and it's actually a core part of CBTI, which stands for Cognitive Behavioral Therapy for Insomnia, currently considered the gold standard treatment for chronic sleep problems. The principle is simple. Bed is for sleep and intimacy. That's it. The rest happens elsewhere. If your bedroom has become your office, your cinema, your dining room, and your anxiety chamber all at once, your brain has genuinely lost the association between bed and rest, and rebuilding it just takes consistency. The microfix: pick one thing you currently do in bed that isn't sleep and move it somewhere else. One thing. Not all of them at once, just one. Your brain will start to recalibrate faster than you'd expect. So there you have it. 5 mistakes, 5 micro-fixes, none of them require a complete personality overhaul. None of them cost anything. They just require knowing what's actually happening in your brain, which you now do. Sleep isn't a passive event you fall into at the end of the day. It's an active process your body and brain genuinely need to function. And the good news is that even small changes to how you approach it can make a real difference, faster than you'd think. If you've made any of these changes before, or if one of them just made something click for you tonight, I'd love to hear about it. Drop your micro win in the comments, even if it's just, I'm putting my phone down 20 minutes earlier. That counts. Every tiny thing counts. There's more on the channel if you want to keep going. Sleep connects to nervous system regulation, stress, energy, pretty much everything we talk about here. It's all linked. Small steps towards real change. See you again on the next episode of Micro Wins Club.